Wondering if you should run to the Epcot Flower and Garden Festival 2026?
You should.
And we're going to tell you why and what not to do.
In case you're wondering what the Epcot Flower and Garden Festival is, Epcot has four festivals throughout the year. This one takes place in the spring from March 4th to June 1st, and it's a celebration of springtime.
Yes, there's spring themed attractions, activities, and food offerings. So we're going to rate the topiaries, the food, the crowds, the merch, the overall vibe, and then we're going to give it a
Score?
total score. Yes, we're going to fill you in on everything there is to know. And again, what not to do. So, we're going to talk about the topiaries first because when you enter Epcot Flower and Garden Festival, the first thing you see is my buddies, my pals, Buzz Lightyear, Woody, Bo Peep, and the rest of the Toy Story, or some of the Toy Story characters right in front of you. And there are also 60 spread out throughout the park. There's Mickey and Friends, Encanto, Moana, Lightning McQueen. Who else did we see?
So Mater, we saw Belle and the Beast, and we saw Lady and the Tramp, and Phineas and Ferb, and a lot of others.
Yeah, there were a lot. And one thing I can say too is they're like spread out all around the park, which I did like. I think if they had all been centered in one central area, it would have gotten really crowded. So I do like how they spread it all around. There are photo pass photographers to get photos with some of them. Mainly, there's the Mickey and Friends, which is right behind Spaceship Earth when you enter the park. And they do a pretty good job with kind of getting everybody in, do some poses, and then, get out of the way so the next person can go in and take photos. So when you first get there and you first walk in, if you see a lot of crowds, I wouldn't panic. Just move around throughout the park and see if you can find some that are a little less crowded.
Yeah, it's very popular. Just see the first one there. Everyone lines up, and all kind of right down the main path. It gets a little crowded, but even then, the lines move really fast. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. But if you don't feel like waiting in any sort of line, go off to the sides of the park or the back, and you'll find more and no waits.
Absolutely. No waits at certain points. We actually took a photo pass in front of Lady and the Tramp, and the photographer was just fixing up his camera. So we hopped in line to be the first ones. And there was like one other couple that hopped in behind us. So don't go for the first thing you see. I know that's always my advice at Disney is to spread out and see what else is around. Speaking of what else is around, the butterfly tent was an excellent exhibit. We enjoyed seeing the butterflies.
That's specific for the festival, and it's very cool to have all the butterflies flying around you, and all the cocoons. Um, we talked about this before, and we couldn't remember the name of it. I still don't know, but they have all the cocoons hanging, ready to hatch.
Yeah, some
Um,
sort of enclosure or house that they're hanging off of. And speaking about kind of where things are around the festival, make sure you get your passport book when you first come in. And for all of the festivals, they have these, and it will tell you where everything is located in the park between all of the activities, all of the topiaries, if there's a certain character that you really want to see, and all of the food booths as well.
and there's activities for kids in there too.
Yes, they have a couple scavenger hunts, and the prizes look pretty cool. There's little like flower guys that move around. So if you do complete the scavenger hunt, it gives the kids something to do while you're maybe eating or drinking around the world or around the park. And there's a cool little prize for them at the end. So, speaking about the food, I think the biggest thing is to have realistic expectations for how much you can accomplish. And of course, this goes for anything, but I thought the lines were a little long for the food. I think some more than others, though.
Yeah, I think one thing we experienced throughout the process of being there was try not to eat during normal lunch and dinner times. The lines obviously will get very long. We tried to space out and eat a little bit at various locations. It helped us avoid needing to eat during those normal times, and some of the lines were much shorter.
Absolutely. I feel like, for example, France, the line was, I'd say, the longest. Mexico was kind of middle of the line, middle of the way, where we were kind of through pretty quickly. Same thing with Morocco, whereas China was pretty quick, and in Communicore Hall, it was pretty quick. But we're gonna break down those places and where we had gone and what we tried as well. I did want to say, just to kind of preface that part, is that we did go opening weekend. So when we talk about crowds overall and also lines for the food booths, keep in mind that you may have better luck if you go a little later in the season or during the week or earlier in the day, because we were there on a Friday and Saturday night on opening weekend. So we have to at least throw that little that tidbit in there so that you have some context. So um in Morocco, what did you try in Morocco? It was the wrap.
Yeah, that was from one of the normal, what do they call the food
It's
place?
a quick service,
Quick,
but it doubles as the
yeah. Normally it's a quick service, but during uh, the festival booth takes over in the same location. I got the Moroccan spiced lamb wrap, which was awesome, and they were making those so really fast, so there was basically no wait.
there was no wait, and there was a little bit of an indoor place for us to sit and eat, which was nice. So that was a good one. And I'll also plug in here that if you're looking for a place to take real estate calls while you're on vacation, the Morocco Pavilion is amazing for that. And we'll talk about that when we talk about the overall vibe. But I think that it was just a great place to get a little piece. So we also went to the festival booth in Mexico, Jardín de Fiestas, and we tried the chilaquiles con carne. Those were corn tortillas tossed in salsa, and they had some cheese on them and shaved ribeye. I thought that was very good. That was, of course, towards the entrance to the park, so a little
Yeah,
bit crowded,
it
but
was
not too
crowded, but
bad.
the line went pretty quick.
The line did go quick
Yeah,
there. And we also tried the calamari taco, which I liked. The calamari was very crispy. It had a
not me.
nice no, he didn't. He doesn't like seafood, so we got to throw that out there so you know in advance. But I'm a little more adventurous and like to try things, especially with something like this. Speaking of something like this and trying new things, we did try the festival booth in the France Pavilion. As I previously mentioned, it was one of the longer lines, and for me, it was the biggest letdown. I hate to say it, but the croissant was a croissant. The duck confit was nice. We did like
I like
that.
that one.
I like that one. And the caramelized onions on a flaky pastry was really good. But the beignet for me was very underwhelming. I'm very spoiled by Port Orleans French Quarter beignets that
Nothing
are
will live up to that.
nothing's ever going to live up to that. No,
No.
sadly, but these ones were okay. But it was a cold beignet, so it had a sorry, it had a cream filling in it, and it had a caramelized sauce. So it was good. It was certainly not bad, but for me, I waited on that long line thinking it was going to be something
Yeah,
that it wasn't,
it was a very long line,
and
and
it was
at
a
the
very long
end,
line.
to get something that was good but not, it's just underwhelming, I guess.
Yes, my socks were not knocked off. Um, the last place that we tried as far as festival booths go was the Epcot's Farmer Feast, which is in Communicore Hall. I did like how they set this up. They had a little like fall flower garden towards the doors. They even had flowers up and butterflies up on the ceiling. And we tried the blueberry crumble cake, which is a blueberry lemon zest soft serve and blueberry compote. And I like that. It was like light,
Hmm.
very springy. So I did enjoy that one. One thing we did want to mention so that you know it's certainly a good tip going in is they have in this festival passport the Garden Graze maybe you want to call
Yeah,
it a challenge
it's just called the
invitation.
Garden Grace.
It's called the Garden Graze
At the back of the
promotion.
book, there's certain items that if you get them, you get stamped and they count towards a free item.
Yep. So buy five, get one free. And you can get multiple stamps for the same item if there's someone in your party that really likes them or multiple people want to try it.
If there's one in particular that you really like and you want to get 5 times, you can do that. If you're like me and don't like coconut, that eliminates a couple options. So, but there's still others, and they all look good. Unfortunately, we didn't actually get to try these.
We didn't get to try any of them because they just weren't on our cross our paths on our travels, but that's okay. There's always next time, and we'll just have to go back next weekend.
Something to keep in mind is there's so much to do and eat there that you're never going to get anywhere near all of it. So try to prioritize what you want.
Absolutely. So I think we should talk a little bit about the crowds because we've mentioned it a few times when talking about the festival booth lines and that we did go on opening weekend. How did you feel that the crowds were overall? Did you think it was a little bit much or not crowded at all?
It was crowded.
It was crowded. It was opening weekend, so we have to give them a little grace for that. And it was a Friday and Saturday night. That's just what aligned with our trip. So if I was going to do it again, or for you guys to know what not to do, certainly try to go during the day or during the week to this festival. I think that everything is still there to enjoy, and there's just going to be, by default, some less people there because maybe people are working during the week or haven't, gotten out yet. So
We still did pretty good. The lines moved fast. We got around okay. Just not that fast. Just
we
keep that in mind. You're
Yeah,
not going to get anywhere fast.
we could not get around anywhere fast. And part of our issue, which again, what not to do, is to try and build in the Epcot Flower and Garden Festival and the World Showcase with rides in the front of the park because we were going back and forth to go to our lightning lanes. And we did spread that out over the course of 2 days, or kind of 1.5 park days. But I can say that we did have to kind of bob and weave through crowds. So Joe and I were walking
Yeah.
single file to get around these crowds. Some people just spread out more and they're more relaxed and just enjoying themselves, which is great. But if you're like us and go, go, go and
You
wanting to
got places to
accomplish,
be.
if you have places to be like us and you're walking with a purpose, you're going to have to be strategic about that. And I think it did help that we didn't have our stroller with us because this was a
Yeah.
couple's trip.
Yeah. Just being the two of us made us a lot more mobile.
Hmm.
If we had the kids with that stroller, we'd probably have to eliminate a lot of the back and forth.
Yeah, I don't think we would have attempted it because just we couldn't have moved as quickly. So we would have toned down as much as we would have done for sure. Um, we had talked about getting foods at off times. Another option is that boat. I did notice there is a boat that goes to the back of the World Showcase from the front. If you want to avoid the crowds, take that boat, get back there. Did we do that? No.
Yeah, the crowds as you enter the World Showcase, you come in between Mexico and Canada, and both of those areas, especially Mexico, packed. And then on the other side, Canada, UK, and then right after UK is the other entrance to the park. So that whole area very crowded. But there's a boat that goes from the front to
Germany?
Germany on one side and Morocco on the other side. You can bypass some of that crowd. However, whenever we looked, it was never at the dock. I
Yeah.
saw it on, in transit a couple times, but never saw it at the dock
I mentioned taking the boat quite a few times. Every time we walked by the dock, I said, "Can we take the boat?" But
every
it
time.
wasn't there. I really wanted to try it. I had heard that it's a great way to skip some of the crowds is to take the boat and start back in Germany. And a cast member told me that was a great place to watch the fireworks because it does go all around the World Showcase. So if you do stay after the festival into the night, or during the festival into the night,
Not on the
certainly
boat.
not on the boat,
The
but
areas
back
where
in
the
Germany.
yeah Germany, which is where the boat drops you off. But
Right.
it's kind of the farthest from any of the entrances to World Showcase, so people tend to hang out closer to the entrance so they can leave right away. So it's less crowded over there.
Yes, thank you for clarifying that. And one thing I can say too about the crowds is if you do want to bring your kids, maybe go earlier in the day rather than going at night when there's a lot of people kind of after work or hanging out after hours. So that's one thing that I think would be important to keep in mind is scheduling wise, just be cognizant of maybe what's going to be going on at the time. I have to say that for crowds, I was just so excited to be there that it didn't bother me at the moment. It was more what I want to pass on to others to know. I was so excited to be there. We're coming from the north, and it's just so nice to be at Disney and at the Flower and Garden that I really didn't mind the crowds. I just think it wasn't ideal.
Yeah, it was crowded in some areas. I don't think we missed out on anything because of the crowds, but it did slow us down. Made a little uncomfortable in some areas. Not a big people person to begin with, but there's plenty of places where it's less crowded, more space, a little quieter. So you can look for those areas.
You can look for those areas, and we had mentioned Morocco as one if you're getting real estate calls like I was. And then there's the more crowded areas. So one of the things that is going on during the festival is the Garden Rocks concerts, and they have those in the Americas Pavilion. So beware that that is a very crowded,
It's loud.
very loud, yeah, very happening part. So for me, I think that's great, but for me, I like the more relaxed atmosphere. So some of the other countries were more interesting for me to spend time in and get to explore. But if you're a concert goer, you can do the festival package where you get a dining reservation and prime seating for that concert. And there's a schedule online that will show you who's going to be there during your trip, so you can prioritize whether you want to do that or not.
Yeah, ABBA was there. We didn't stay long, but we heard some of their songs, and you don't have to worry about getting into the actual show area. You can hear and see it from the whole pavilion very well. We made this mistake of trying to make a call at one point. It did not work out. So
Yeah, that was just to our kids, and I'm sorry to say, just to our kids.
just our kids. It's
Just our
okay.
kids. They wanted nothing to do with us. They were having so much fun with their Grammy that when we called, they could have cared less about us.
Yeah,
They were excited for a minute, and
we got
then
a high, and then they ran off,
yeah, so
which is fine because we couldn't hear it anyway.
yep, and they're not going to fire me.
No,
So you may notice what I'm wearing. I've got my Spirit jersey and my ears from the merch booth. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the merch, and we'll eventually give it a score as well. I love the merch booth, and Joe tagged along with me to
yeah,
see everything that was there. So I appreciate that. And yeah, so the Spirit jersey is a just like the other ones, it's very heavy. It's a thick, heavy shirt, so it's certainly worth the cost. But I also feel that the orange sorbet is like the brightest, happiest color, and we're coming from the north where we're still in a wintry zone at this point.
a couple feet of snow on the ground.
When we were there, there was a couple of feet of snow on the ground here, so to have all this spring stuff is really exciting for me. And I also try to make my souvenirs meaningful, so I love that I can wear this and be reminded of my trip. The ears not so much, but well, with me I will be wearing them. Let's be honest. And we also got a magnet for our fridge that has a photo slot in it, and since we did memory maker and got photos with the photo pass photographers, we'll be able to put those and have it on our fridge and see it every single day. And we also got a Christmas ornament. So I've just started to collect these things when we go on the trips, and it's meaningful to me. So we can say that when you do go, certainly check out the booth. I know they say that things can sell out. So if you see something that you really want in a certain size, I would grab it, but I wouldn't panic that the whole booth is gonna sell out. Of course, there will be something for you to buy.
Yeah, and price wise, it's about the same you would expect. It's not super cheap, obviously, but if you've seen prices for Disney stuff, it's on par with that. Even though it's specific for the festival, still something you put in the budget. As
Do we need to talk about the budget
we
during the
always talk
merch?
about the budget.
I don't think so.
Uh,
Okay. So one thing I
it's
wanted to
not
say,
it's not going to break the budget, but it should be there.
it's gonna break the whole budget if you ask Joe. No, I'm kidding, of course. The only time you can get this merchandise is at the festival. So if you go on the Disney website, you cannot buy the festival merchandise and have it shipped to your house. There are people that will go and shop for you. There's certain Facebook groups for that, and resellers, but they have a 2 item per person limit for each thing, so that people cannot stock up,
Yeah.
resell, sell them
Take
online,
advantage of it.
take advantage of it. Yeah, and no one should really. There should be plenty for people who are visiting to purchase from. So we're going to talk about, last but not least, the overall vibe. So if you couldn't tell from our video, although there were a couple of things that we would suggest to maybe do different than we did have a great time at this
Yeah.
Flower and Garden Festival. And we were really happy to just be there. We had done it once before in March, and our kids were with us.
In May.
Sorry, we had done it once before in May when our kids were with us. So this was our second time being there, but we were able to delve in a lot more and do more things.
yeah, our last trip was much shorter, at the end of May, and not uh, maybe a little bit because my allergies were a complete disaster and I couldn't really be there for very long. It was making it miserable for everyone involved. But this time we went at the beginning of March. Uh, no issues. It was great. So that's something to keep in mind if you suffer like I do.
Yeah, or if you suffer with living with someone who suffers like he does, then certainly go a little bit earlier in the season. You'll have fun no matter what, but yes, just be mindful with all the topiaries and gardens that you may have an
Stock
allergic
up on your
reaction.
meds.
Yes, bring Allegra, Benadryl, whatever else is out there. Um, yeah, so I think that overall, I was just so happy to be there and to get out of the New England winter, to see a festival and to experience it, that I cannot say that I could have had a better time. I think that passing along some information on what not to do hopefully helps others, but I don't think I would change a thing. And even if it was less crowded or we didn't go opening weekend, you're still never going to be able to do everything. There was at least 20
Yeah.
food booths, 60 topiaries, the rides that you're bound to want to ride rides while you're at Epcot. So even if things were a little different, we still wouldn't have done it all. So overall, I can say I really enjoyed myself
Yeah.
and I'm glad that we did it.
Yeah. I had a great time. The food was good. Even with the crowds, it was still nice. Flowers and garden, as the namesake. Very beautiful, and it was very nice.
So I think we should give our ratings of what we thought for all the categories we spoke about. What would you say out of five for the topiaries?
Out of five. Five. Great topiaries.
Okay, topiaries, 5 out of 5. How about the food?
Mm, four, I'd say. Yeah,
Okay, 4 out of 5. We
four out of
did
five.
like it, but there
Yep.
were a couple things that weren't as great as we had thought.
Hmm.
The crowds,
Not great for me. Three, I think.
3 out of 5, but maybe you could choose a different time that we went and have a different experience.
Hmm.
How about the merch?
That's your department to
5 out of 5. I loved the merch. I'm excited about it, and it will just brighten up my spirits on a sad day. And last but not least, the overall vibe.
um, five.
I'd say a 5. So if we average those all together, that gives us a total score of 4.4, which, I think is great. It's certainly worth your time. So if you're going, we hope that you enjoy yourselves and that we've been of some help. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. We've got more content, including a recap of our recent Disney cruise and the things that we would have changed differently for that as well. We like to give an honest review. So we will see you next time.